What's up, everybody? Hope all is truly well. This your girl running with the day. I'm gonna come my way. What? Guess what night it is, y'all? It's another night of red hot sizzling topics. Red hot topics, you all. And we got a great conversation for you all tonight. We had looking forward to and another week has come. Yes, y'all. And guess what? We're gonna have a conversation that's gonna be very, very exciting because you already know what I do, y'all. Y'all already know what I do. I give you carb. I got my friend coming in, my girl all the way from the other side of the waters where you got to take a boat to get to and a boat to come back off her land, y'all. My girl, Dr. Roni DeLuz, all the way from Martha's Vineyard. And we're gonna talk about we're gonna dive deep into exercise addiction. Exercise addiction where most people don't even think about what exercise is, even know what exercise is, and can overdo exercise. So, by way of all the way by the boat and the waters, we're gonna bring my girl, Dr. Roni DeLuz, in all the way from Martha's Vineyard. Dr. Roni, my girl, the book writer, the doctor over there helping people get their stuff together, doing what you do on your land over there. How are you doing this evening?
It's a beautiful day. It was kind of sad earlier. We had someone, one of our friends died, but you know what? I'm sad for her, and the island is sad for her. But the one thing that I always rejoice about is the opportunity to help someone tomorrow. Wake up and help someone tomorrow. We're
Yeah,
talking about exercising addiction. That's a subject that I would have never thought we would be talking about. But I
right.
see it. You know what? I do see it. And I don't think a lot of people realize that that really exists, right? And it exists because people use exercise for a lot of wrong reasons. We think that someone is trying to be healthy, but we never actually think about, do you think maybe that person have an addiction, right? We think
Yeah.
that person is like eating good food, but have you ever thought that that person might be smoking cigarettes? Or do you ever think that person might be having drinks of alcohol at night,
Mm-hmm.
popping a few pills here and there, but
Mm-hmm.
they're exercising every day, like strenuously, and they look trimmed, but behind all that exercise addiction, there's some real chronic stuff going on.
Yes, it is. And I know plenty of them, Doc. Plenty of them that
So,
was and when I used to teach and explain the difference between exercise and physical activity. I used to teach that so people would understand the difference and so they won't overwhelm themselves.
right.
So most people overwhelm themselves because of the lack of knowledge. They
That's
think they're doing something, and it's like, well, when do you allow yourself to rest if you're doing it for 7 days? So we're
right.
going to get into that topic of the exercise addiction because I know plenty of people that is addicted to exercise and still look the way they look, out of
Really?
shape.
Oh my goodness. See, maybe because I live on Martha's Vineyard, but I know some exercise addiction uh, people as well, but they look completely in shape. So I guess it depends on where you're looking. But
Yeah.
I do know, I'll never forget this time. I was looking out my window, my loft upstairs, and I'm looking down. And I always noticed that I would always at this particular time, it was a coincidence, I'm sure, that I kept seeing the same guy run down the street. And when I'm looking out the window and I'm thinking, like, why is it that when I look out the window, this guy's running down the street? But you know what? It didn't dawn on me till a year later that he was running down the street many times that day.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, what a coincidence. When I look out, he's running down the street. It didn't dawn on me. He's always running down the street.
You running to the window and he running down the street.
He's running down the street. So that was an exercise addiction. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it wasn't a
Yeah.
coincidence. It was that this man was always running, okay? Always running. And you know, I don't think people understand that you can't overdo anything. Just like you can't
Mm-hmm.
overdo drinking water. If you overdo exercise, the repetitiveness of your joints, the strain on your joints, you get the opportunity to have injuries.
Yeah.
And we lost a friend about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, young. He was a runner, um, but he was addicted. And I specifically remember saying to his wife, do you know what the word metabolism means? Right? You
Mm.
know where I'm going, Doc. She said, can you explain it to me? I says, your husband have a really high metabolism. But do you know that that's a metabolic condition when you have too high of a metabolism? Because there's no fat, very thin, no fat runner.
Mm-hmm.
He's a professional runner, so I can't mention a name. But he also had cancer. So if you take that word metabolism and you think about, you know where I'm going, metastatic.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Mm-hmm.
metastatic? It is cancer out of control. Your
Mm-hmm.
metabolism can create metabolistic condition from cancer, which means cancer out of control. So I said to her, he's got to stop running. And she goes, oh, that's a tough one, doc. I said, but he's doing so great. We've got his numbers down. His stage 4 is now stage 2. Why not? He hasn't been running this whole time. It's been 21 days. And he's been home now for like, what, a month or two. He hasn't been running. And so, long story short, I didn't hear from him for 6 months. And sometimes no news is good news.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's completely the opposite. No news means no, it's not good. This man,
Right.
not only did he go back to running, but he went
Mm.
back to running at a real high level to the point where he lost every single fat piece of tissue he had on his body. And he looked like a skeleton. Now,
Mm.
you got cancer. So, what my point I'm trying to make here is that was truly an addiction. The fact that
Mm-hmm.
you can't stop running and you have stage 4 cancer.
Mm.
So, what do we do about these addictions? No one's doing much about it, right? At least I don't know
Right.
that they are. That was just one situation. And there was another situation where this person kept saying, I have fast heart rate.
Mm.
Well, there's a difference between a fast heart rate and arrhythmias. Which
Yeah.
one do you have? And so he didn't know, but he did know that his heart rate was always running fast to the point sometimes he would get dizzy. I says, okay, but you need to find out if you have arrhythmia because that's a diagnosed heart condition.
Mm-hmm.
Drop
As
dead.
opposed to
Right.
heart
Mhm.
palpitation, he was having the
Yeah,
palpitations.
he was having
Like,
palpitations at a very high level. And so, of course, you got that going on and you're running. Can you imagine his heart?
yeah,
So he ended up
yeah.
having a heart attack. He had a cardiac attack in the middle of his run. So
I could see that.
these are things that happen to a lot of people. So basically, he didn't make the association that his heart couldn't handle the run, right? And a lot of men, and not just men, women too, associate running as one of the healthiest things that
Mm.
you could ever do for your body.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, for most people, that's not true.
Yeah.
Walking, briskly walking is healthier than running. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
really good shape to run like that. There's a lot of things that happen to a person that's always running. What about the person that's dehydrated? Do you know
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't even know that they're dehydrated?
Mm.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to that, Doc. Hold
Yeah.
on. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that because, like you were just saying about you have people that exercise addiction. So it's versus explain a healthy dedication. So explain the difference between because I hear what you're saying because I've had friends, I know people that literally work 24/7 and exercise. I mean, run 24/7. And then I thought about when you said that, it's like they don't even realize when you put that kind of pressure on the bottom of your feet, you are triggering organs in your body
That's right.
because you're running, mainly if you're running on hard concrete, you're triggering organs in your body because of the receptors, the reflexology. We know about the reflexology points. They're connected from the bottom of your feet, from your heart, your gallbladder. All your organs are associated on the bottom of your feet as well as your hands. So people don't realize when they're running, they're pushing pressure and triggering those nerves that triggers those organs when they're running on that hard cement, or they running the way they're running, and then they wonder why their heart is palpitating like it is, or why they have that speed up. Because what happened is when you're patting on that ground, you're actually patting the trigger points to your heart. So you're
That's right.
overstressing your
Mhm.
heart.
That's right.
Even the Bible talk about you're supposed to do a day of rest. Most people don't
Mhm.
understand what a day of rest means. So
A
they
day of rest,
overdo their
you
addiction.
know, I shouldn't be laughing, but they feel like if they take a day of rest, they feel the complete opposite. They feel like their whole world is falling apart. And
Right.
their whole world is falling apart. And you
Hmm.
and that's called an addiction. Okay.
Yeah.
The
So talk
point
about the
where
heavy. Let's talk about the healthy dedication then. Now we talked about the addiction. Let's talk about the healthy dedication. What's the difference between the healthy dedication and the exercise addiction?
you have to have a plan. You have to know what
Hmm.
your blood work says. Have you done blood work? How do you know that you don't have mineral deficiencies? What about your hormones? A lot of people don't understand that a high cortisol level is a really concerning problem when you're an
Hmm.
exercise addiction person. Because guess what you're doing? You're using exercise to decrease your stress.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And so a lot of
Hmm.
people don't understand. If you are decreasing your stress by running, imagine not running one day and see how bad you feel. You feel
Right.
out of control. You feel angry. You feel, what's that word? You feel guilty. You feel anxious, right?
Hmm.
Because you didn't exercise that day.
Hmm. The
More
red flag.
concerning. That's more
Hmm.
concerning. Then so I think a lot of times what we don't see is when someone has organ problems. That's why I said
Hmm.
important. Like if you run to the point where your kidneys are being affected, and dehydration can do that. Uh,
Hmm.
your kidneys release uh, a protein, and I don't quote me because I can't remember the name of it, the protein, but your kidney releases that protein, and that can cause kidney damage from someone
Hmm.
who has an exercise addiction.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things happen. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a person that was a runner that didn't take care of their nutritional status. You now see, we equate exercise with health, don't we? But I
Hmm.
tell you how many times a runner eat junk food. Right after they run, they eat that Snicker bar, okay? Because why? They need the sugar to, they still need the high. And because it is a high, it's called an running, an exercise high. Um, it's a runner's high. Sorry, it's a runner's high.
I think the thing is, Doug, is that people only going by what they think they know. I mean, what they've seen others do as well. So when you go to schools, they got track stars, they got runners, you grew up and seeing people run. You see them running for the bus, you see them, running because they're late, you see them, you're running because it's rain. It's a natural thing to run, and people not realizing that, how you run, there's certain ways you should run. I don't believe in a lot of times about running because, like I said, to me, I think it triggers points under your feet that triggers your organs,
That's
you
right.
know. And so walking, like you said, the walking piece is way much easier because your walking gives you balance, because maybe when you have the right shoes on, it leverages the reflex points without putting the stress on the reflex points.
That's
If you
right.
understand that. So
Right.
when you're running, you're running, you're hitting. But when you're walking, your glide is a whole totally different. So what it does is bring the circulation, helps with circulation
Hmm.
in the body, as opposed to doing more harm to the body. You
That's
know,
right.
so the red flags, just like you talked about the red flags just now, um, feeling guilty when they missing a workout, like you said, they go into depression. Oh my God, I didn't work out today. How you think? Would you think about that? Like you
Right.
just mentioned.
Right. Because that, so you, and I'm going to go back to the guy that was running down my street, and I thought that it was a coincidence that I kept seeing him, right? Um, when you take somebody like that, they're running because they already have mental condition. Like they already have depression, they already have anxiety, perhaps. They already have what do you call it? Fatigue, sleepiness, all of these things they already have. So they're using exercise as the medication. They're using exercise as the remedy. And so, with that being said, it's not necessarily a bad thing because they could be taking a boatload of pills for it. But
Yeah,
if this exercise is helping them, that's not a bad thing. However, they now have an addiction. And with some of the things that I mentioned earlier, besides the fact that you could have an injury, you can release too much protein in your body. It also suppresses your immune system. Um,
mm-hmm.
and all of these mental problems that you're feeling, these emotions that you're feeling, you could have body image problems. And I think that's what's bad about the exercise addiction. And the other thing that's bad about it is that so many people don't know they have it.
Yeah,
Try telling
that's really
somebody
not
they have
good.
an exercise addiction.
That's
They'll
really
say
not good.
they'll say no, I just like to exercise because it's healthy. And you can always tell an exercise addictive person when you go watch them what they eat afterwards. Because if they were
Mm-hmm.
doing it for health, they're not going to go down the street and have a slice of pizza and diet soda, right? So
That part. No, they're not. Renin is our word that you was trying to get for the to help regulate the blood through the kidneys. You
Oh
talking about
yes,
the protein.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You
Yeah,
know, we got so much in our thinking sometimes we'd be like, wait a minute, hold on,
right,
wait
right.
a minute. Um,
Because remember, with that, you have the muscle breakdown, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
and that's a real telltale sign that somebody's addicted. When you
yeah,
when you see that, you could clearly see it because you see the frailness and you see the thinness, but you don't see the muscles for somebody that's running like that.
right. So
So
let's talk about we talk about feeling guilty. We talk about people missing. We talk about people exercise through injuries or illness.
mhm.
Why you running and knowing you ain't feeling your best?
Well, let me tell you why. Because they're looking for the what? The high.
The high.
They're looking for the high. That's why that guy
Mm-hmm.
kept running up and down my street, and I thought he was running one time, and I thought it was a coincidence, but that guy was running like up and down my street three, four times that day. And so I felt like, wow, I didn't know back then, okay, that exercise addiction was so prevalent. Just
Yeah,
oh, because it's a small group, right? And but it's dangerous. That's why we're talking about it, right?
right.
We shouldn't have.
It's unhealthy when they don't know. The thing is, the word danger is scary to them. But
Yeah.
because people think they're doing right, um, by running, like you said, if you're gonna run, to me, if that's what you feel like your adrenaline is and everything, don't do it every day. You
Right.
know, don't run every day. So when you're looking at, like we said, the risk and consequences, the risk is heart palpitation issues. You know, you get you like you said, heart attacks because you're not allowing your body to rest. When do you rest? That's the risk. consequence that people take is that they don't understand there's a risk to it.
Right,
You
right.
know, they think they're doing right by their body, but at the end of the day, there's a risk factor that comes along with that if you're not giving your body time to reset itself, rest, allow the muscles to allow the blood to, do what it needs to do. So what do you think about that when they don't understand the risk factor, and how can we make them understand the risk and the consequences they're taking when they're doing that?
Well, see, and a lot of people ignore this too, but every physical, when you go to the doctors, they say before you start an exercise plan, talk to your doctor. Why do they say that? They say that because, again, you need to see somebody's blood work. You need to
Mhm.
make sure that they don't have arrhythmias. You need to make sure that their kidneys are not spilling protein. These are all things that you test. You test someone's cortisol levels. You could test someone, by the way, you can also tell when you're at a physical whether someone's having some emotional mood swings and anxiety and depression. So all of these are signs, and I think that we started out right by talking about it. I think people need to talk about it more, and only because I think a lot of times we feel like it's a man's condition, but it's not.
Mm,
I see a lot of addicted females as well. I
yeah,
think they know
yeah,
that they're addicted, but anytime you see somebody running in snow, rain, sleet, or hell,
right,
uh, regardless in how thin they are, they just doesn't stop running. That's a problem.
yeah. And you mentioned about the hormone imbalance. You talked about that, which is part of the conversation, the weakness of the immune system, because some people can run so much that they give themselves end up catching a cold because now they're compromised with their immune system.
That's
Talk
right.
about the immune system that also associate with you running and doing these physical activities. Like, well, you can't call it physical activity because physical activity is different than exercise, but talk about the immunity and the exercise.
Because exercise to the point where it's too much, it suppresses your immune system. And whenever anything suppress your immune system, you do have a higher risk of catching a virus or a cold or anything like that, right? And keep in mind, these people are running, like I said, in all types of weather. They don't choose when they run, right? They just start. I think
Just
they
go.
just go. They just start running, right? And a lot of times they don't say, well, you think maybe I should have some IV hydration fluid or maybe some electrolytes, or
Right.
should I eat a little bit of protein? Maybe I should make a protein smoothie. I believe they just get out and run. I think they get this feeling in their head, like they don't like the feeling that they feel, and they say, just remember that movie, what was the name, Forrest Gump? He says, I just keep
Oh yeah, yeah. I
running
was about to
and
run,
running.
Forrest, run. when
He
he
says, and
when he
then
kept
all hell
running,
stopped.
yeah, yeah,
So I like that movie because it makes me really realize that you can be running for the wrong reason.
yeah. I think the thing is, like you're saying about when we're talking about this running, is that um, why do we feel like running should be um our biggest goal set? Why do we think running is the goal set? Why do we don't think that because our natural state is to walk, not run, walk. Um, I've seen people run and to the point they run and drop. Um, their legs cramp up. You
Mhm.
see people you got because they have a deficiency. They don't understand why they cramp and they get in Charlie horses. Everybody feel like every sports you got to run. Football, you running. Basketball, you running. Soccer, you running. Everybody running. So
Right.
when do you ever take time to walk? It's to your when you gotta take your time to get to that destination. But when you get to that destination, you're doing what? You're running. So um I'm trying to see how do we keep educating people on explain to them the difference between physical movement as opposed to exercise, and that they can get this almost a better results in their well-being as
Yeah.
opposed to always running. So explain like physical activities as a teacher. I used to teach people like making up your bed, sweeping your floor. Those are part of physical activities, and you're not harming your body. You're waking up the cells, you're waking up the oil, you're waking up the blood without putting the trauma to it. So why do you think people don't focus on more of the physical activities as opposed to the harmfulness of running and putting so much pressure on the body itself?
I think awareness is first, right? First, they have to be aware that they're feeding a symptom. And when you're addicted to something, you're literally feeding a feeling that you don't like. And
Yeah.
it's not going to work unless we bring it to their attention. What are you running because you want to be healthy, or are you running because you're trying to get rid of that feeling that you feel? And that's
Mm-hmm.
individual situation, because a lot of men who have like testosterone imbalances, they feel like, well, okay, I'm going to run so that I can
Mm-hmm.
feel masculine, so I can feel this. And then you get someone who feels weak and they wimp a lot and they cry and they're tearful. They go, I'm going to run because that makes me feel great, makes me feel like
Mm-hmm.
a winner, makes me feel like I'm on top of the world. And until we can address why someone's addicted to exercise, I don't think that they'll get it. I think
Right.
we have to bring it to their attention. Like, don't think I thought that my cancer patient had a running addiction. I didn't at that time. At that particular time, I looked at him like he was an athlete. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
until later that I realized that no, that was an addiction. He was first an athlete, but it became an addiction. And that's, for me, I realized that that's what led to his demise. I think that led to his downhill. I think that led to the problem of his cancer coming back. So there's a lot of things to talk about here when it comes to an addiction. But first, as always, is to recognize that you have it.
Right. Right. Um, great shows, great show. Because most people, even when they're on the treadmill, they run it. You know,
Right.
they're on the treadmill, they
Right.
run, and everything has to be as a heartbeat. Why, explain to the people why it's important to have the speed as they do the speed, like you're on the treadmill, right? And they're doing for their heart. How much harm can you really do to your heart when you overdoing your heart or when you're doing too much exercise? What harm can you do to your heart in that case?
So it's the same way you can have a muscle breakdown. This muscle breakdown that where you have extreme exertion and you release the protein in your kidneys. You can also do that to your heart because your heart's a muscle, right? But besides the fact that that happens, you can also exert or have exhaustion because arrhythmias is nothing to play with, right? People have
Right,
heart
right.
because of arrhythmias. But the other thing that happens that I think that people don't recognize, when you're running and you're sweating to exhaustion, and then you don't realize that you're pouring out a lot of minerals in your body to
Mm-hmm.
fatigue, and then you continue to run and your heart continues to race. That's an education that we have to give people. Because
Yeah.
a lot of times they think, oh, that's great. And there's that runner high again that I keep talking.
Mm-hmm.
So they get to that point where until they get that height, so they get that feeling. And sometimes that's dangerous. And that's how one of my clients lost her life with the cardiac
Mm.
arrest.
Yeah. Even the beverage they drink, it makes a big difference. I always talk about the temperature, room temperature water versus cold ice water people like to drink because they feel like, oh, it'll help burn this and burn that. But when you look at the end of the day, a lot of people put the wrong type of beverages to reset and refuel themselves as well. Talk about that.
Like the energy drinks.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember, but it was in the papers many, many years ago on how these kids, I think it was two of them, they were athletes and they were doing this. Oh my goodness, I think I can't. If you name the energy drink, it was. Oh,
I know what it was. We already know what they all are, and they know
yeah,
what they are too,
yeah,
without us naming them.
right. And so those that energy drink was the reason why this person, this young person, I think it was 32 or something like that, had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Because he was an athlete, and but he was just basically drinking these energy drinks, like three or four of them.
Yes. Yes. And they talk about it on the news. Um, it's amazing to me how people they're supposed to be qualified, certified to educate people on these things, but they give them the wrong things to intake.
Yeah, yeah, like a caffeine, with that
Right.
increased heart rate. I
And
think
I'm
it's
like, why would you give them that type of drink
right.
knowing it's going to make you sweat more,
Hmm.
as opposed to giving them something that's going to hydrate them? I think to me, people drink things that's going to that dehydrate them more than they hydrate them.
Right, exactly. And because those drinks they're fat burners and you're already burning. And so where's your hydration? So your hydration comes with the minerals, that comes with the electrolytes. And but what they're doing is they're getting rid of their electrolytes by sweating it out,
Hmm.
and they're not putting it back fast enough. And to your point earlier, that's why they get cramping. And
Hmm.
get cramping right in the middle of their run, and they keep right on running.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they call it run it out, run it out.
I did one year my cousin had a fundraiser and he had a basketball tournament and I was in it that year and the guys run up and down the court. They run up and down the court and one guy just grabbed his leg like, "Oh my God, oh my God." I can't run. He had up getting a muscle cramp in his leg, you know. And my cousin said, "My cousin is here. Let me call my cousin. I'm coming running across the field." And I had magnesium on me, like always. I carry magnesium on me.
For you.
Anybody know I got my magnesium spray, magnesium cream, and I took the magnesium and sprayed on him, right, and rubbed it on that area. He was like, "Oh my God." That felt good. And just instantly the circulation because a lot of times they're so deficient in the minerals that their body need to have, the bone density. They don't know how to take the vitamins, the vitamin D with the right calcium. They know that's a combination. Most people don't know that you have to do these to take the bone debt to build your calcium up and your magnesium up in your body. So when I hit the magnesium on and sprayed magnesium on them and rubbed it on them, instantly that the pain and the cramping just went away
Yeah,
or
that
gave them a mustard, or if I give people a mustard. I
uh-huh.
say keep a piece,
Mhm.
keep some mustard in your pocket. If you
Yeah,
ever running and you lose, you cramp up, put some mustard in. Then when you take that mustard, it'll take that cramping away. These are old remedies that people don't even
yeah.
think they're so had because of so
Yeah.
much deficiency.
So,
But yeah,
at the end of the day, what do we tell people? Like if we want to give them three things to remember when they're running.
yeah,
The number one thing is always have a bottle of electrolytes. Okay. Number two is do not drink coffee before you run. You're talking
that
about
part.
caffeine, and coffee is also dehydrating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is that if you feel something, it's real. If you feel fatigue, if you feel a headache, or if you feel off, that word off, I like that word off. You know why? Because it just means I feel off. Don't
Right,
run. Because my
right.
friend felt off and she's not here today.
Yeah. And we have lost plenty because they
Mhm.
was off
Off.
and not wanting to receive. Great show, Doc. We really appreciate this conversation always. This what we do here, all the way from Martha's Vineyard, all the way to the waters of the bay, coming over here to the dry land that we have. We always want to thank you for your time that you bring into bringing us knowledge. We'd like to thank the background crew that makes all this happen for us as well. And myself, I'd like to thank myself. You're welcome for being such a great host as well. Such fabulous job that we do connecting with people because it's so important. But the show has bring so much greatness and education to people. Red
Yes.
Hot Topic is just what it is, Red Hot Topics. And you gave us the closing and we really appreciate the closery on the breakdown of everything we just talked about and to bring awareness to people that they need to understand that you have to be introduced to you from the inside out. That's why they say check with your physician first, but you got to check with the right kind of physician as well. Every healthcare doctor may not be that person for you. You see, when it come down for your well-being, because they go outside and smoke a cigarette themselves, they may be drinking themselves, so they can't give you the regimen if they don't know it for themselves. So thank you for taking the time to help them understand the things that they need to put in their bodies need to be for life, not for death. Because again, life lives by what we do and how we do.
Right.
So
Thank you. That was
yeah,
awesome. Thank you for that message because that's so true.
yeah, it is. It's real. And it's sad that we have to go through this as educators, like we have been educating and helping for years, but they don't think that we know what we're talking about when it comes down to exercise because we ain't running.